Good evening, it's Arena, and today it is a beautiful day in Kansas City. We have BEL podcast, Freeze the Fall, manager Ginny Becker, sorry. I'm not feeling very well, but I'm gonna do this part two and then take some cough meds and such. But I've been excited to do this today. You all really are motivating me with such good positivity vibes that it makes me want to work. And it is absolutely God's truth on that. So, we are going to do the conclusion. Actually, I should probably talk a little bit about part one, a recap, basically explaining the start of Arya and then Quinn. They met each other. They were wearing band shirts, and I think they had a little bonding moment, and I would do the same thing. But I do want to know if you still remember, I'm sure you do, the bands. What were the band t shirts? I want to know. So I'm curious. Yeah. If I was to wear a band shirt, I would be like, "Give me your number," like that happened. You know what I mean? Because there's something in common. Music is universal. So let's go ahead and do the damn thing. Oh, and then Jonah came in later. They were looking in for there was a drummer named Jonah, 14 years old, and at least that's what I remember hearing. And they met, and it seems to go well. And I really liked the that they get together and they do Christmas, like different holidays, and they gather together. Sorry, my voice is wanting to go out, but I thought that was absolutely beautiful. So let's go.
You guys like recording the EP?
Hold on, let me do this. Maybe it disconnected.
Put out your
Technology.
first like storytelling music video. It's been a crazy year.
Yep.
I have a feeling 2025 might be crazier. But
Hey, I'm here for it. I'm going to cross my fingers
It's
for that
gonna
one.
get way
yeah, me
big.
too.
So you mentioned your learning curve into the music industry. How what does the music industry look like to you, and how has like your thoughts of it evolved in 2024?
I think like anyone who doesn't know an industry, and maybe any industry, you go in with a lot of trepidation. And certainly this is an industry that people right away will tell you, be careful. There's a lot of darkness in this industry, and
Especially the young
people will try to
people.
take advantage. And I think one thing is a little bit hard to articulate, but in a lot of ways, I'm very grateful that the band did start so young, because it forced the reality that as parents, we would be heavily involved. Like if this started when they were 19 or 20, they could have been like, we don't need your help. And I don't know that they would have, but you know what I mean? They wouldn't have, our involvement would have been optional at that point, but it wasn't, because they were 14 and 15 years old. So they've had this natural sort of armor around them of people protecting and working, but also it's always, as their manager, been my goal to make sure that they are also learning it, because we won't always be in it. And so, for me, they're involved in every decision. Like we don't make decisions for the band. We present them with options and maybe provide guidance on if we think it's a good decision or not a good decision, and kind of help them navigate. But they really do drive the ship, which I think is critically important for them as they grow and learn that it's more than making beautiful music. It's also a business. And if you want it to be your path, then you're going to have to invest as much in the business as you do in the music itself. And so for me, I definitely went in with some ideas, did a lot of reading, a lot of talking to people. But I think for me, what shifted my understanding of the industry the most is that everything we've done has been achieved through a transfer of trust. So we've met like We Met You, which led us to Dane, you know what I mean? Like in the reactor community in and of itself, building trust one reactor at a time where they become more than just faces behind screens, but people who actually care about what happens to this young band. It's been the same way within the industry. So, Justin leading us to Jason and Justin leading us to Jordan leading us to Kevin Moore, like it's been very
Transfer.
kind of organic, and we've really managed to build a team around the kids who every single person on that team fundamentally cares about what happens to them. And
A warm transfer, if you understand what I'm saying. I used to be a receptionist for Sears. Hey. Obviously that was a long time ago. I don't think Sears is around anymore. It might, but I don't think so. But a warm transfer is handling off to another person and with gentle and care. That's what I get from it. So hopefully that's what Jenny, what you're saying. I hope I'm understanding it.
and is also equally excited about the uniqueness of Freeze the Fall. I think that's one thing is, we definitely get that a lot from that industry of like, I'm here because I care about the kids, and I'm here because they have something that is hard to describe, but that hopefully takes them all the way to their dreams, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But, I have a visceral memory of being in Las Vegas. It was 14 days after Glitch came out, and getting an email from 604 Records. And I was like, this has to be fraud. Instantly. I was like, wait, what is happening right now? And it was interesting because at the time I had, with the band and the families, created a list of 3 labels that if we were going to partner with a label, these were the 3 labels we were interested in. They were all indie labels and labels that we knew would be, would help to protect creative output and that sort of thing. And 604 was at the top of the list. And part of the reason was feedback we had. Part was it was Vancouver, so we could drive the kids there in a weekend. They wouldn't have to be on airplanes and things like that. So there's a lot
Very
of
nice.
things there. But in my brain, that was like 2 or 3 years or 2 albums down the road. So that email, I literally deleted the email. I was pretty sure it was fraud. And then I went to their website, and their website literally said, we're experiencing a high level of fraud if you get an email from us. And I'm like, I knew it. It was fraud. So I went, so the fellow did leave there was a signature in the email. So I went to their website and started sleuthing their team, and couldn't find all the names. So then I just called them. Like, this is who I am. I got an email. So that email, I literally deleted the email. I was pretty sure it was fraud. And then I went to their website, and their website literally said, we're experiencing a high level of fraud if you get an email from us. And I'm like, I knew it. It was fraud.
People suck. There's fraud everywhere, and there are legit. I can't say it right. Sorry. Legitimate. That there are, but people just need to keep their hands to themselves. I don't know what.
So I went, so the fellow did leave there was a signature in the email. So I went to their website and started sleuthing their team, and couldn't find all the names. So then I just called them. Like, this is who I am. I got an email from this person named Justice, which is a very cool name, but also, really, is your name Justice? Like,
Yeah.
that was how I was in the first moment. Anyway, so I left. I said, if he's a real person and he wants to talk to me, then here's the number he can call me at. And he called me like an hour later. And I was literally like jumping up and down on the bed in Las Vegas, looking at Craig going, 604 Records. But it was funny because the way that conversation went was I essentially told Justice, we don't need you. Like, we're not there yet. They're kids. Like, this is what we're doing. This is the path we're on. And I give 604 a lot of credit for accepting that and then staying by our side and just continuing to inquire where they might be able to help and where they could add strength. And that was where the distribution deal came from, was us basically saying we're not ready to sign these kids to any sort of long-term contract. Like, right now it's one album. We'll see what happens. And so we partnered with them on distribution. And again, there's a lot of legitimacy that comes with having a label by your side. And so it's a fine line, right? But we had a lot of people going, oh, labels, like, meh. But I don't know if that has to be true. I think if you can find partners at any level in the industry that see you as people and not as, products, then you can do pretty well. And they've been amazing partners to us. So it's been really good.
Let's let's say that again real quick. I love that. Hopefully I didn't get too far. It's a long video, so I'll pause and or go back a few seconds. It ends up being like 3 minutes. So let's see.
Engagement that I've had with them, like you could tell how proud they are to be working with you guys, right? Like, and
Nope.
yeah, like
Las Vegas, looking at Craig going,
There we go.
but it was funny because the
products,
way that conversation
people.
went was I essentially told Justice, we don't need you. Like, we're not there yet. They're kids. Like, this is what we're doing. This is the path we're on. And I give 604 a lot of credit for accepting that and then staying by our side and just continuing to inquire where they might be able to help and where they could add strength. And that was where the distribution deal came from, was us basically saying we're not ready to sign these kids to any sort of long-term contract. Like, right now it's one album. We'll see what happens. And so we partnered with them on distribution.
I like
And again,
that.
there's a lot of
Big
legitimacy
deal.
that comes with having a label by your side. And so it's a fine line, right? But we had a lot of people going, oh, labels, like, meh. But I don't know if that has to be true. I think if you can find partners at any level in the industry that see you as people and not as,
Well
products,
put,
then
that should be a quote.
you can do pretty well. And they've been amazing partners to us. So it's been really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
and even just like the little bit of engagement that I've had with them, like you could tell how proud they are to be working with you guys, right? Like, and yeah, like we said earlier, like it's kind of expected that you can play your music and that you have good music, but it's the rest of it that really counts. And the fact that they can build such strong relationships with anybody who's willing to give them the time of day, I think it really
Yeah.
speaks a lot to the band and their potential success, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
No, that's exciting. I'm going to use that as a segue. So, how would you describe Freeze the Fall, and what makes Freeze the Fall Freeze the Fall?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been having this conversation a lot because, as you know, we're 26 Films is making a documentary on the band right now. So
Good
we've been having that
question,
conversation.
Jesse.
I think if you ask, I always describe it as 9 of us because there's 6 parents and 3 kids. There's also siblings involved, but a lot of times they're like, "Do I have to go to another Freeze the Fall gig?"
My computer, and I just updated and it's being janky. I'm like, pause. And it kept going. So my apologies to Ginny. I wasn't trying to be rude. Um, Now I forgot what the hell I was gonna think about. I'll have to see it. Oh, it went into the comments. Yeah, I forgot. Let's go.
But I think if you ask all 9 of us, chances are we'd all have slightly varying different answers. But I think from my perspective, working as the band's manager, it's a combination of they're just like innate friendship, because the way they met and that sort of how it kind of came together, where they just thought the same about, like, they can go into separate rooms to write lyrics and come back with almost the same lyrics. It's wild.
That's
Like, they
wild.
just are so melded into the way they write their music. It's very cool.
Before I forget, sorry. So Jesse, that's what I was gonna get at. It's not a booger. These my allergies and stuff. Anyways, so I left a comment, and I was explaining that, hey, by the way, props to Jesse, and I was explaining he's great for what he does because he makes you, what I get is kind of like me, how I care and want to make people comfortable and inviting and no malicious, you know, motives, you know, just to be kind and to be caring. And I kind of relate with that a little bit. I don't have motives. I have goals, but basically I rebranded to do what I like more. I was basically being a people pleaser, and I finally got to a point. I don't care to a level about numbers, but I'm not going to be miserable anymore. I am being a lot more transparent and such, and loving that I put it into the right lane for me. I love rock. And I when I okay, let me give an example. When I first heard Freeze the Fall, I wasn't thinking that they're young. I knew their talent. And I am all about their aesthetics and that kind of rock. And so I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm happier than I have been in 3 years. I've been reacting this for 3 years, and I would do things to to make people happy, and it's better to have quality over quantity. And I'm just giving that a little bit of that. But Jesse, I think I've dealt with him before. Maybe Angelina Jordan. I think Abby told me that. So I'm excited to see some more interviews from him, and you could see the care in his eyes and everything. So good job for being. I mean, I don't know you personally, but you seem like a really rad dude, and that you give a shit and you care, and that's more important than anything. Let's go. Hey, I lost numbers. I finally rebranded and was like, no more. And I was never trying to be fake, but I was being way more proper out of respect for certain bands that I was dealing with. It's pretty much, I mean, I'm worse in the house. You gotta be a little bit, but I talk like a sailor. And so I try to, like, cut that down. So good job, Jesse. Props to you. Let's go.
But also it's their it's their work ethic and balance at the same time. Like we set a schedule for them just to keep it regular and
I
routine so it
can't even
fits in with
imagine.
school and everything else. But no one has ever told Freeze to Fall you have to go write a song or you have to go practice or you have to get ready for this gig. Like they're on it. They know what they want out of all this and they work very hard at it. But they're also like these weird old little souls who
Yeah, I was thinking
totally
that.
understand that they also need to do other things and
Old
um,
souls.
you know, and connect outside of music, which is why they have their horror movie nights and whatever else. Like they
And
just
nude
kind of get
souls.
it in a way that I don't think a lot of people, maybe even adult bands, like get. And as long as they can hold on to that thinking, I think that will drive their success for sure.
No, I love that. That was a great answer for that. And I am going to ask you, like,
Jesse and
as
Jenny.
a mother, as a parent, is this kind of like what you expected the journey to look like? Could you have predicted, even just like the friendship, like take the success aside, could you have predicted that this is what it was going to look like?
No, interesting. Like, for me, like my context is Aria, obviously, and Aria is an incredibly shy, introverted person in regular life. So to see what she does up on stage is it's mind blowing every time to me. I still ugly cry most of the time. Um,
I
but
like that.
interestingly enough, now, as a parent, we all kind of feel like everyone's parents in the band now. Like they're just this little unit, and we all have to take care of each other's kids because that's the way.
Yeah, we kind of grew up like that in the 80s, anyways, where, like, if you were doing something good or bad, it's usually bad. And the parent, well, actually, where I grew up, it was like, and maybe it was that way all over the place, but where I was from, Kansas, Leavenworth, and like if you're playing with playing ball, or Barlow, it was me with Barbies, and or if you're being disrespectful to somebody else's even parent, but you're in their home, anywhere you went, you could get spanked no matter what. Now, I'm not saying that I got beaten, but I got corrected, an attention getter. And basically, we all knew each other on that street. So I kind of get that without the beating thing, obviously. There was no beatings. Just to stop it. What?
kind of goes, right? But
You know what's going on. In
for me, I
your-
was really
in your
great. We actually
neighborhood.
changed Aria's schools to be where Quinn and Jonah were at the time, because Aria was on a different catchment trajectory. And it couldn't have come at a better time because, it was just that transitory time of middle school, and friendships are changing anyway, and things were
Yes,
shifting.
big
And I think
difference.
it was a really great time for Aria to kind of follow passion. And she's such a creative person with her art and music and stuff. So for me, I think, yeah, I could never have predicted that this is how it would go. Like if you told me 3 years ago, Aria would be rocking out on stages in
Because
front of
she's so
hundreds of
shy.
people, I would have no.
No.
But yeah, to watch the growth in all of them. I think I sent you a video the other day from the gig at Clancy's in Penticton there. And they had the entire place moshing. Like, what is happening?
And Aria left the stage too, didn't she? She went.
Yeah,
and,
she came down in the audience and she's just ripping. Like, man, if we get her untethered from the cord, I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't even know what's going to happen at that point. But yeah, it's very cool to watch. And I think, it's interesting because as a trio, the other thing that I reflect on a lot for this band is from the very beginning, they decided they were a trio of equal value. They never wanted there to be, someone singled out or someone, because they write the music equally, they perform the music equally, they invest in everything. So they take all their we had one interviewer who was like, I only want to interview one of them. I'm like, well, then you can't interview Freeze the Fall because that's not how they roll.
Sorry.
So, you take the band or you don't. And there was a time even, where we've had other industry people be like, well,
It made me think a little bit of the music video of No Doubt, Don't Speak. How they were focusing on mainly on Gwen and nobody else. I dig this.
we could just interview this person this time or that person the next time. I'm like, yeah, that's not how they want to be. They are so celebratory of each other's growth and
I love
how they
that.
contribute. And I think that is the other magic of them, is that they're just there's no egos in the group at all. They're very equally invested. They all have their strengths, like they all add different things into. And the fact that they've found those things and they know how to work them together, I think makes for a pretty special dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's, I've been fortunate enough to sit in on a couple of rehearsals, and I've seen a handful of shows now. And like the way that they'll be rehearsing, they're playing, they're doing their parts, and when it stops, it's like they immediately go and they like compliment each other on very unique things. And it's not just like, hey, good job, we made it through. It's like, hey, I noticed that thing that you did this time, and I really like that. Yeah. And like, just like you said about like some adult bands, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on anybody, but I don't know if anyone's listening that closely. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's really special how they have that.
It's funny that you say that, because when we filmed VHS, the music video for VHS, that was 2 extremely intense back-to-back days. Like the shed scene was one day, the second scene, the like where the band's playing was the very next day. Incredibly physically exhausting days. And I will never forget, because Aria was like strapped to the ceiling for 7 hours in plastic clothing, basically. Like she had an intense job and she gave it everything. They all did. It was amazing. But I always remember we got in the car to go home, and the first words out of Jonah's mouth, he was like, Aria, you annihilated that today. He's like, I don't even know how you did that. And this is from a young man who just finished drumming that song 16 times in a row. Like it was exhausting for all of them. But yeah, they're just always, watching out for each other, and they're definitely stronger together. So I think they know that, and that's how they operate.
So I have another question for Mom Ginny here. So if we go, it was just the anniversary of filming the barn videos from last year, and again, I couldn't imagine how cool that must have been. Like seeing everyone all like dolled up, they got all the makeup on, the outfits, the costumes, like pro cameras everywhere. Like that's one experience. Fast forward to Halloween, and your daughter is strung to the roof with pretend spikes through her hands, and she's bleeding everywhere, being tortured. Like, can you just talk about that a little bit?
Before I forget, I'm having a hard time remembering stuff today. So, what I was gonna say is, Aria, what did you decide the outfit that you wore on VHS? Because that was one of the first things I noticed, and I said something about it in the reaction because it looked like Kiss, you know what I mean? Like a throwback of Kiss. A lot of rock stars were wearing that kind of an outfit, and I think it's a major throwback and a nod to the modern now, and I think that it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll start with the barn. The barn was incredibly fun, and I worked very closely with 26 Films on the develop, like all that staging and everything was all borrowed and bank borrow and well, there was no
There ain't
stealing,
nothing
but you know what I mean.
wrong borrowing
So it took a
things.
lot to bring all that together. And you're not wrong. The kids walking in there for the first time, where there was, I think it was 21 people in the barn between makeup artists and lighting techs and sound techs, and
Wow.
that's why we did 5 videos with that Kickstarter funding. Was when I sat down with Evan and said, "So we want to film music videos in a really cool venue, and I want to do 5 of them all at once." Everyone was like, "Cool." Like I don't think
Let's
either
go.
one of us had any concept that nobody would do that. Like we were just like, cool. So we'll film 5 music videos, and we'll try to make them look a little bit different with lighting. And like, if anyone now, I would be like, nobody would do that, but it worked. And then fast forward, the kids really, really wanted to do a true storytelling video, and they wanted to do it for VHS in particular because of the horror inspired vibe of it. And once Evan got into it, like, man, diving into the mind of Evan is just a beautiful, brilliant thing. He's such a creative, super genius. But he
He
would
did a
come
great
to our
job.
house and sit out by the fire pit with us, and him and I would get going on costume ideas and stuff. And it was hysterical because I do a lot of the costuming with the band. And I'm pretty sure if someone had been like monitoring our text messages in the week leading up to that video, like someone was calling the authorities, because Evan would text me, be like, "Hey, do you have like a box or a trunk that a teenager could fit inside?" And I was like, and I would be like, "Well, does it need to lock or does it like
Yeah.
just wrap?" And yeah, he'd be like, "Also, do you know where we can get some bones?" And I'm like, "Human bones?" And he's like, "Well, not necessarily." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Like
Like,
poltergeist.
what are we doing with bones?
Yeah.
Anyway, there was some pretty funny stuff. And in the development of the costume, so Aria and I actually built her costume.
I love
And
it.
but it was all Evan's idea. Like he's like, we're gonna like wrap bass strings and we're gonna do all this stuff. And so Aria was like literally sewn into that costume that day with bass strings all around her. The boots are laced with boot string
Oh
or bass strings
wow.
and stuff like that. So it's quite something to see it. But and there might be, I don't know. I don't think it makes me a bad mom, but I was like, cool.
Great.
Cool. And Aria loved it. She was so excited. And Aria does a lot of design and costume drawings and stuff like that. So she actually helped with the design of that. She was taking a fashion design course at the time, and she actually submitted the costume as one of her concepts, which was very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. So, needless to say, you enjoyed the whole process.
I really enjoyed that. You answered the question. That's amazing. Built in reminds me of Marilyn Monroe was sewed into the gold gown that was on, I think it was on Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. I think probably was done several times, but
All Evan's idea. Like he's like, we're gonna like wrap bass strings and we're gonna do all this stuff. And so Aria was like literally sewn into that costume that day with bass strings all around her. The boots are laced with boot string or bass strings and stuff like that. It's quite something to see it. But and there might be, I don't know.
very
I don't think it makes
detailed.
me a bad mom, but I was like, cool.
Great.
Oh. And Aria loved it. She was so excited. And Aria does a lot of design and costume
I can't
drawings and stuff like
draw
that. So
to save
she
my
actually
life.
helped with the design of that. She was taking a fashion design course at the time, and she actually submitted the costume as one of her concepts, which was very cool.
Awesome.
I
Yeah.
love this.
So needless to say, you enjoyed the whole process of that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm sure we've had fans comment on this. It was interesting to me that before the very first gig, like before they even got on stage, they had this very clear goal of having a visual aesthetic. They didn't just want to walk on stage in t-shirts and jeans. They never did. Like from day one at 14, 15 years old, they're like, no, we want to have like a look and a feel to the way we walk on stage. So if you're ever at a Freeze the Fall gig and you look at their costumes, there is always something tying the costumes together. There's always something, and sometimes you have to look really hard to figure out what it is. But when VHS came out, all of a sudden it was the color red. And so if you were at, there was a show in Vancouver for the first time ever, Freeze the Fall came out, and each of them had red on. Well, you were at that gig.
Yes.
And that was related to the song. So they're very purposeful about the costuming. They have this real flair for sort of vintage meets modern. And I have a lot of fun with them on the costumes because they always have the ideas of like, we want to look like this, and then I'll help them kind of source it and bring it together. But that's been a big part of, and that's why I'm like, who are you guys?
Yeah, seriously.
Having that forethought 2 years ago that we're like, we want the production to include the way we walk on the stage, and what people see and experience includes what we look like when we walk out there.
So professional.
And they're so thoughtful about that piece, which I think is really exciting for people because we are starting to get those like, what will they be wearing?
Mm-hmm.
And not that it overtakes the music, but the way they do it blends into the music, which I think is really very cool.
Well, that's one of those
it.
pillars that, like we're assuming the music is going to be good. They're going to be able to play it, but you're bringing your brand into it, and you're telling us what your music's about through your art and through your look. And that's just another leg to stand on, right?
Totally. And we have some fun with Jonah because, I think like girl costuming always has more bells and whistles and things like that. And not only is he male, so there's less options oftentimes with male costuming, but also he's behind the kit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always trying to make sure that Jonah is involved in that look and feel and that aesthetic. And him and I have had some laughs because I'll be like, Jonah, what about this? And he's like, that's a little spicy, Ginny. I don't know about that. Okay, I'll dial it back. But he's such a great sport, and he has really come to, I think, enjoy the costuming part as everybody keen to be kind of stepping into that piece too, which is very cool.
Well, and I obviously can't speak for the ladies in the band, but myself being at one point a teenage boy, I remember thinking it would be cool to do all that stuff, but then when it came showtime, I was like, no, just hoodie and jeans. Like this is what I'm comfortable in. This is all I'm gonna wear. And I really admire him for that. He's
such a sport about it, and I think he understands that it's part of the gig. So he's just as involved when we're sitting figuring out costumes for the next gig or whatever. He's right in there, and like, how do we want it to look and feel? And so I think that's pretty exciting.
No, I love that. Yeah, good for them all. I was gonna say good for him, but good for them all, honestly. Okay, so as we kind of get towards the end of this here, I just as a parent, like, how has this whole journey been for you?
It's interesting. We all, as parents, are doing this off the side of our desks. Like I was trying to map it out for the band one day so they, would fully comprehend how much work goes on behind the scenes. Because, the best I can figure, Jennifer and Tyler are doing somewhere between 6 and 8, maybe 10 hours a week with merch and sales and all that kind of stuff. My husband, Craig, doing all the sound stuff. He's easily putting in, 10 to 15 probably hours a week. I, on any given week, probably 20 to 30 hours a week on band related stuff. And that's so for every hour the band is working, there's at least another hour to 3 that is going on behind the scenes. But I think what's really interesting about it is every single one of us is having so much fun supporting them. Like, as a parent, now I'm like, what was I doing at night 2 years ago? What were my evenings when I wasn't, doing all of this? But no, it's really exciting. And I think we're all starting to get excited about what comes next for the band and some of their goals and just helping them reach for it. I have a very complex day job. It's heavy and the content is difficult. And what I have found this job has done for me is really allowed me to come home at the end of my regular workday and kind of turn that off and shift to this thing that's very familial driven and very goal oriented for the kids and for the band. And so, yeah, for me, it's really fulfilling. And I think all the parents would say the same, that it's a really cool journey to be on with this band. And like we tell them all the time, like, no one's ever going to work harder for you than we will. So for as long as you need us, we're here, and we'll keep, supporting you guys from the back and making sure that it can move forward. But yeah, it's kind of fun. And now we're like, we don't make vacation plans anymore because we have no idea where the band is going. So we may just be going wherever they're going.
Lots of Vancouver vacations.
Yeah, well, we're hoping to venture further than Vancouver in 2025. We're having conversations about some different opportunities, and we've put applications out to some very cool festivals. But again, that, we don't know yet how those things will turn out, but we're definitely starting to envision a broader reach and stepping outside community a little bit more and getting them hopefully more and bigger stage opportunities and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of goals still on their list. So
I could imagine.
Yeah.
And for the end of this, could you give me like an insight?
I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, it's a full-time job, not job, but you know what I mean? It's a lot. I can't even imagine being in high school and doing all. That's what I mean, is that part is busy as it is. I can't even imagine studying, going through school, and I don't even know. I basically got a comment from the band, and they're like, yeah, we're in high school, and I didn't know if maybe I was like, maybe they do their own schooling, but from what I understood, and please definitely confirm or that I'm wrong, that yeah, public school. I don't know how it goes in Canada. So that sounds really, I am ignorant about that. I don't know anything about Canada. All I know is there's really good music, and like Alanis Morissette, Avril Lavigne. I'm sure there's a lot more. And so I think Celine was in Canada. Not sure. Anyways, some of the best vocals, in my opinion. So yeah, and I heard it's really pretty there too.
Into some of those goals, you could do long term, you could do short term, but like, where are we hoping to go over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so right now they've just started working on a full length album, so that will no timeline on that or how long that will take. But I think really right now, short term goals are, the band definitely wants to get a little bit further into the market. So they would love to be playing like Calgary, Toronto, maybe dipping down into the US, like starting to try to find some opportunities. So one of the big things is looking for some of those opportunities to do smaller, more condensed touring type opportunities over the next 18 months, 24 months kind of thing. And that could be on their own. Maybe there's an opportunity opens up where they could open for somebody cool. Who knows? That would be fun. So yeah, right now we kind of take it one day at a time. Like over the next several months, we'll be starting to release the next EP. The hope, and of course, as you guys know, like end of high school is approaching. Like Quinn will graduate in June. The other two will graduate in January next year. They both accelerated their graduation to be finished a bit earlier.
Wow.
Time.
So I think that following spring will be the big moment where they're all free to kind of go and do next things. They all also want to do some university and stuff. So they're looking at definitely achieving a balance between doing the band, but also taking, whether it's online courses or maybe they might all choose like, we'll do this semester at school and then we'll tour over here. Which I love for them, because I think, Quinn said it to me very beautifully once. She's like, my inspiration comes from learning and the things that I learn and see around me. So I don't want to quit learning, and none of us would want that for them.
Learning.
So music is definitely their priority, and they all want to travel the world and play big festivals and big shows. But I think we'll manage to find some balance where they can also be pursuing these other interests on the side and keep growing as humans and not just as musicians. So I think that'll be an interesting next couple of years. But I would suspect when the full-length album is done will be the moment where we're all hoping that the band can do the thing they want more than anything in the world, which is to go and see the world a little bit with their music. Because by then they'll have, I mean, close to 20 songs in the market, and that becomes much more feasible to go out on tour and play some bigger shows. So I think that's, 2-3 years in the making, and we'll see where it leads.
Well, and to be fair, just like the last year itself has been crazy. So it's probably pretty hard to predict, like what is the slope of this thing as we're going along, right?
Yeah, it's a bit complicated because in some ways, and I've explained this to the band several times, like in some ways, this is a train that we're already on, and you don't always get to choose the stops of the train. Like it's a complex industry that way. When opportunity comes, you kind of have to take those opportunities, and that's where, as they have to start navigating, post-secondary and the band life, it'll be a little bit more complex because they'll, somebody's going to say, hey, do you want to come and open up for so-and-so? And in theory, you need to be able to say yes to that. So they're all working at building the schooling in a flexible way that they can continue to respond to those opportunities, because you can't really predict it. I mean, we know some of the things that are important, like getting more and more stage experience is important. So that's the goal this year, is getting them hopefully on some bigger, broader stages so they continue to grow that live experience. And then taking that and hopefully getting them to a touring place after that would be awesome.
No, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'll be here for it. You tell me when and where, I'll be there.
I'm like, listen, Mr. Sound Engineer.
Yeah.
Oh, we have this conversation all the time, Jesse, because even amongst the 6 parents, we're like, even if they went on some sort of tour a year from now, we're like, so who can take vacation for 6 weeks? Like, what? How are we going to manage that? But the one thing I know for sure is that we'll figure it out, because this is such a rare and unique dream. And I think if any of us were less than 100% confident that they're capable of it, maybe it would be different, but we're all so supportive and certain that this is their path. Like they were born for this. It just seems like where else would you be?
Yeah,
I don't know.
seriously.
And I totally get that, there's balance to that. And one of the things I love so much about the fans is their concern for the band. Like what I see in the comments and stuff all the time where they're like, I don't want to see the band burn out. We want to make sure that they stay healthy and well. And, I love that the fans think that way, because it's the very same way that we think. And it's why we basically said to everyone in the industry, until the youngest one is a grown-up, we will always be standing between you and the band.
Yeah.
Like they write music and they do a beautiful job of it and they're learning the industry. But in the meantime, they're also young adults growing into, adult humans, and they have to be able to do that in a way that's safe and allows them to do this. But again, I go back all the time to like all the things teenagers could be doing, and this is what they're choosing to do is
Totally
pretty great.
Yep. Yeah, for real.
And the music they write is
Phenomenal.
it's awesome. Wait till you hear what's coming. I know I've said this to you before, but yeah, I am constantly mystified by their process and their ability to write music that moves people the way that it does.
Well, hey, you gave me that heads up last time for the last releases. You said wait till you hear it, and I was still floored. And I'm assuming I'm going to be this time as well.
Well, and we're literally in the middle right now of filming the next music video. So, and it is wild.
I bet.
So,
This was
And
3
cold.
weeks ago.
yeah, it's going to be good. Well, yeah, again, sometimes we do wish they had named themselves something else.
Like a warm, hot summer. There's a band name.
Honestly. Yeah, their vibe has this cold, frozen vibe to it, but that's good. Yeah,
That's good.
we're all getting used to it.
Is there anything else that you would like to add or touch on before I let you go here?
No, just thanks so much for having me. And, I think we love for the fans and reactors to have the opportunity to keep getting to know the band a little bit better. And we also are grateful for patience. The fans have been very patient, and just in the sense of like, there's so many interviews and things, but again, the keeping balance for the band to be able to be at school and do their thing there, and then focus on writing music and stuff like that. There's only so many things we can fit in. So we know there's people out there been waiting to interview them and stuff for a while, but we only do so many things in a month, and so we're getting there. But yeah, grateful to everybody out there. The reactor community has our heart. Thank
So
you.
kind.
It's been a very cool journey.
No, I could imagine. And
I'd be
just the same, I appreciate
scared.
all the support that you've not only just given me, but the whole community. I know like explaining a reaction video or the reaction community to people sometimes feels weird or sounds weird, but once you get like involved in it, you just see it's just a whole bunch of caring people that just really want to see you succeed. And if they can offer even like words of support, like it's amazing how far that can go. So I personally really appreciate you, your
Well,
care
I
and
know
support.
you and I have talked about this before, but literally in our conversations with 604, it was one of the first things we said, like, you cannot shut the music down for reactors. Like, that's a deal breaker for us, because they've been so instrumental in how this has unfolded. And the cool thing about that label is they right away were like, why would we do that? Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like, I'm like, great, cool. So we're on the same page then. But yeah, it's such an important thing. And we're just very grateful every time we see a new face or a returning face. We still, just so everybody knows, I'll give you this little insider tip. We have a family chat, a text message called We're With the Band, obviously.
Of course.
Of course. And literally every reaction video, whoever sees it first sends it to the whole family. So we do literally see all of them. And we're just super grateful for how hard everybody works to help support the band, and every little bit helps. It's a hard dream to chase down, but you guys are making it possible. So thank you for that.
No, and thank you. Like I say, I really appreciate you being here. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you. Can't wait to see you guys again.
I know. It's coming up. Hopefully there should be
Lovely.
March.
Okay.
I told you, keep some dates available in March.
I can be ready for March. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching. See y'all on the next one. Well, that was lots of fun.
Okay, so that was BEL, and that was part 2 of Freeze the Fall with manager, momager, Ginny, and with Jesse, obviously. They are both very important in this interview, and I love the fact that you could tell that there was a lot of love, and that is very important. Freeze the Fall, when I do my reactions, I don't expect responses from bands, but they took their time and they always do. I don't expect I can't even imagine being in school and doing those music videos that are absolutely epic with great music. That is like a full-time job alone. And also she was talking about that they are the band are going to be doing advanced acceleration classes to graduate earlier. That's what I got from it. And that is a lot. What the maturity and they make their style their own. They have vision, and then it gets implemented. And and I know you're not supposed to tell, I said I wouldn't, but the maturity of all of that is just impressing. It's impressing me. So they are way advanced as far as how great they are. Always, you see it. You see it when they leave comments and giving gratitude. You were brought up right, you know, and it says a lot about, in volumes, how they were brought up. And I think they're amazing. And thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for the people that are subscribing me and comments, which is number one. And likes let me know that that's what you want. And it feels, I'm not gonna lie, likes is a few things. um it lets you know where to go and navigate, and it lets me know that that's what the demand is. But I still, if there's something that I love, it doesn't matter if I get 5 views or a million. You know what I mean? It's nice. I used to chase that Not anymore. I am more about what makes me happy and to give. And I love this new relationship. I absolutely love it. And I take care of people. I work harder when people treat me very nice. I'm a sucker for people liking me and being nice. But yeah, let me stop. I've been having a hard time with my speech today. I've had to do like 20 takes literally on both sides. Um, so before I mess up again, I will talk to y'all later. Lots of love. Bye bye.